Hello and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Paris Schutz has the evening off. Here's what we're looking at.
It is the most important part. It is why we exist. We exist to serve the community.
We've got a preview of the public forum where the nominee for CPD superintendent is set to make a high-profile debut. Will we see flashes of greatness from Justin Fields Sunday? A preview of the Bears-Packers game with 1985 Super Bowl Bear Emory Moorhead. A community-run shelter for migrants has closed its doors. Two of the volunteers share how they were able to give new arrivals a first home in Chicago.
More honor comes to the work when people see the execution of it.
And a visual artist talks the importance of art accessibility in collaboration with an ongoing live exhibition at Navy Pier. And now to our top story tonight. At a public forum in Pilsen, Mayor Brandon Johnson's pick to lead the Chicago Police Department is about to meet some of the people he hopes to serve. Johnson chose CPD Chief Larry Snelling from a field of 3 finalists to lead the department. Tonight, Snelling's joining a meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability at the National Museum of Mexican Art. Chicago Tonight's Nick Blumberg is there now and joins us with a preview. Nick.
Brandis, when Mayor Johnson picked Chief Snelling last month, he called the 31-year CPD veteran a proven leader who can help restore trust in the department. In just a few minutes, Snelling is set to take the stage behind me for his first high-profile public appearance. He currently leads the CPD's Counterterrorism Bureau. Earlier this afternoon, I spoke with Public Safety and Accountability Commission President Anthony Driver. He said he's excited for the community's voice to be heard tonight and thinks the engagement piece of the selection process has been particularly successful.
It is the most important part. It is why we exist. We exist to serve the community. We exist to make sure that their voice is at the forefront of this. So for our leg of this race, that is our North Star. I think that this is a first-time process, the first of its kind in the country, definitely in our city. And I think, we did it to the best of our ability. We did very good with community engagement. I think next time, now that we have a roadmap, we're more aware of some of the pitfalls of this go-round. So there are a few things that I would like to see different and tweak, but for the most part, for this to be a first-time process, I think we did a good job of establishing credibility and legitimacy in the community.
Nick, there was reporting yesterday about use of force complaints against Chief Snelling. What can you tell us about those?
That's right. Southside Weekly reported he was the subject of 8 complaints about excessive use of force between 1993 and 2000. Those accusations range from verbal abuse all the way up to slapping and punching, including 2 suspensions. Driver told me that before putting Snelling forward as a superintendent candidate, they reviewed his record thoroughly.
We also spent hours interviewing him. I find him to be a very credible person, a very community-minded person, and a person who the vast majority of Chicagoans have nothing but positive things to say. The vast majority of stakeholders have nothing but positive things to say. And I think if you take a very detailed look at his record, you'd see about a 25-year history of pretty much no complaints. So, no, it was not an area of concern. We exist to oversee the department and other public safety bodies, but I will say as a person, I have full faith and confidence in Chief Snelling and his ability to lead our city and our department.
Nick, what else is on tonight's agenda?
The commission's also expected to do away with the controversial CPD gang database that's been widely reported to be riddled with errors and is seen by many as racially biased. Driver says it's finally time to put that database to bed.
We've seen different iterations of the gang database. We've seen 2, 3 OIG reports where the Inspector General is taking a look at this. The City Council has held hearings. We've held hearings. There's thousands of Chicagoans who have organized around this. It is what has been a very racist and discriminatory practice and system in our city that has directly harmed people. People have been denied employment, their right to bear arms, and many times their basic dignity. It's about time that we end it once and for all.
And Brandis, any future version of that database would require the commission's approval before the CPD can put it into use.
Is there any indication that might happen?
Driver told me he never says never, citing as an example the very commission that he organized for years to get off the ground and which he now leads. But he said nobody's ever really been able to make a compelling argument to him as to how a database like that makes the city any safer. And he also said that as long as he and the rest of the commission are still in office, he doesn't expect to see any future version of that database anytime soon.
Okay, Nick, thanks so much. It'll be good to see what else happens at tonight's hearing. Thank you. And now to some more of today's top stories. An attorney for the family of a man shot and killed by Chicago police in 2014 says he's surprised to hear that City Council is reconsidering a $2 million settlement. The council's finance committee had previously supported the settlement for the family of Darius Cole Garrett, who was shot and killed by 2 police officers after a foot chase. But in a rare move, the full City Council voted it down in July by a vote of 26 to 22. Finance Committee is expected to take it up again in a Monday meeting. And there's more about this story on our website. Students at the Chicago High School for the Arts, or Chi Arts, shouldn't have to miss any classes now that teachers and staff have reached a tentative contract agreement with school management. Educators had previously authorized a work stoppage and were set to strike this week. The Chicago Teachers Union says the tentative agreement provides salary increases for educators, protections for part-time teaching assistants, and adds a full-time social worker and nursing assistant by next year. The union says Chi Arts educators have a few days to review and ratify the agreement. A new report says abortions have increased significantly in states bordering other states that have banned abortion. The Guttmacher Institute today unveiled a dashboard that estimates the number of abortions provided in the U.S. each month. It shows Illinois borders states with laws deemed the most restrictive of abortion, while Illinois is considered to have protective laws towards abortion. The report says the number of abortions in Illinois increased 69% between 2020 and 2023. Up next, it's Bears time. Looking ahead at the new football season right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by Alexandra and John Nichols, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
It is the oldest rivalry in the National Football League and a matchup fans look forward to all year. The Bears kick off the season by taking on the Green Bay Packers this Sunday at Soldier Field. Joining us tonight with a preview of the game and the season is Emory Moorhead, a member of the 1985 Super Bowl championship team. He was a tight end for the Bears from 1981 to 88. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So all eyes going to be on Justin Fields this season, of course. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year. Do you think we're going to see more of him running or, with a short up offensive line? Is he going to try to stay in the pocket and throw more?
Well, I think the plan is to have him stay in the pocket, make some plays, running and passing. I don't think they want another 1,000 yards running out of him. But from all reports, he has progressed so good in the passing game, receiving, looking at his receivers. They've added some receivers. That's really going to help them. Darnell Mooney is not the lead guy now. DJ Moore is, and he's truly a number one. And I think that's going to help this team and Justin Fields quite a bit on offense this year.
So let's talk a little bit about the Bears-Packers rivalry without Aaron Rodgers, who claimed that he owned the Bears.
He did.
What do you say? What do you think?
Well, Jordan Love is a new guy. We don't need another 18 years of him or 22 years of Brett Favre. We need to change everything. So that's why this game is so important. It's really his first game he is the guy. And the Bears need to get off on the right foot, and they need to beat this Packer team because they got a new quarterback. We really don't want to have this thing go on like it has been for the last 30 years.
What do you say to Aaron Rodgers? Good riddance?
Yeah, I'm glad he's gone, and I hope he does well with the Jets. But the Packers still remain a dangerous team. Their run game is pretty solid, and I think that's what they want to do is run the ball and ease Jordan Love into the game so he's not having to pass 40 times and play good defense.
So the Bears are opening the season at home against, as you mentioned, the less experienced Packers quarterback Jordan Love. It's his first year starting, but the Bears are only 1-point favorites. Does that sound right to you?
Well, this game nobody knows because nobody plays in the preseason anymore. We don't know how good our team is because they didn't even play any starters mostly until the last game. And I'm sure Green Bay did the same thing. So, there's a lot of questions. It's our first look at the full team for the whole game. And 1 point, this game could go either way. But 1 point is probably because they're playing at home.
Okay, so, you say it could go either way. What would you say your final score would be?
Well, I would love for it to be a nice big blowout, but I'd take any old kind of win, as Jack Brickhouse used to say. Any kind of win to do. I think this Bears team should be at least 3 to 5 point favorites.
What would you say your final Bears season record would be?
Well, I was looking at the schedule today, and I'm a Bears and I'm a homer, but I think if they could get to maybe 8 and 9, that'd be a really good season from coming off a 3-win season. They do have the easiest schedule percentage-wise in the league by result of having the worst record last year. So I'm looking for them to, pick up some wins, maybe, 6 to 8 wins, hopefully, and anything over that would be great.
Anything over that will be great. We'll take it. Okay, so lots of talk about the Bears moving out of Soldier Field. What's your feeling on them not playing at Soldier Field?
Well, I would love for them to come back and, reach agreement with the mayor. The piece of property they have in Arlington Heights is still a great piece of property that they could develop to anything they want. But there are issues concerning the taxes out there and the reassessment. It was a quadrennial year for Arlington Heights, and the taxes went up from, to about 4 to 5 times what they were paying before. Of course, the Bears set that standard by paying the amount of money they paid. So it'll be interesting to see if they can work with the village and the educators and get that tax thing under control, and then they can move forward. The crazy thing about it is the Bears have a lease at Soldier Field till 2033. So they're not really in a hurry. They can wait this thing out and see who gives them the best deal.
Is Soldier Field not sentimental? Would you not prefer to see them
I would
at
love
what's
for
home?
them to redo it. They redid it, I think, in 2002. Not that long ago, but they need to do a total brand new, like SoFi Stadium, some of these new ones, they have to upgrade all the way. And they can do that on a brand new piece of property if they develop it. Which Soldier Field has a status, a historical status, it'll be much more difficult to do it there.
So let's talk about your Super Bowl Bears teammate, Steve McMichael, battling ALS. The Bears are honoring him at Sunday's game, and he is one of 3 finalists to be a veteran inductee into the NFL Hall of Fame. Why do you think he deserves the Hall of Fame nod?
Well, I mean, the thing that happens is the Hall has become such a hall of statistics, and they look at the new guys that are putting unbelievable numbers up because the rules have changed so vastly since 1985. But Steve, from a defensive tackle position, had 95 sacks. That's a lot for a defensive tackle. And he was an inspirational guy. He was a guy that played in the middle with William Perry. And, you had to double team both of those guys. And then you had Richard Dent and Dan Hampton on the end getting one-on-one, Otis Wilson, Mike Singletary, and Wilbur Marshall getting one-on-one. You can't stop those guys one-on-one. And the crazy thing is that he was a guy that could get through the double team, and if you ever left him one-on-one, he usually was in the backfield causing all kind of commotion. So I think he's well-deserved to get this honor.
And you saw him recently?
I saw him about a week before the Hall of Fame vote because I was a little concerned because when he went in the hospital, everybody was like, no, no, no. And he came out, he fought it, he beat it, and he looks pretty good. And I picked some stuff from his garden since he couldn't see what was going on out there.
He doesn't know you were taking it.
He doesn't know I was getting tomatoes.
He wants
and
you to
everything.
have it.
Yeah. But he's very excited about it, and we all hope he can hang on until that vote that comes Super Bowl weekend. When the full committee of the Hall of Fame votes in. And I believe there's only been one time in 1996 that the whole committee did not ratify what the Veterans Committee had suggested. So we're very hopeful that he'll be in.
Okay, of course, we'll be watching the game on Sunday for the honor that he is receiving. Emory Moorhead, it's an honor for us to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And we're back with more Chicago Tonight in just a moment. Stay with us. Since last September, government officials have scrambled to support the thousands of migrants who've come to Chicago. A year later, resources remain strained and few long-term systems are in place. But in spring of this year, a community-led effort to house and assist migrants rose in a Pilsen warehouse. Since May, organizers with the volunteer collective Todo para Todos say they've hosted 260 residents, but the shelter ended its operations this past weekend. On this week's Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, guest host Phil Ponce speaks with 2 volunteers from the shelter. In a preview of that conversation, Phil asks why the shelter had to shut down. Take a look.
But there are a number of reasons why we felt we had to close. First of all, the insurance on the building, which was held by the donor of the warehouse, has lapsed now, so we felt that it would be no longer safe to host people in the shelter. Second of all, many of our amazing volunteers were educators or educational administrators, and so with the return back to school, we lost a lot of volunteer capacity, including myself as a professor. And third, we fought really hard to be acknowledged as an affiliated shelter with the City of Chicago, but unfortunately we weren't able to be included within that infrastructure.
And Cynthia Nambo, not being an affiliated resource, what did that mean in terms of how much assistance you could give the people who were residents at your facility?
Well, it's interesting, and it's really a scarcity because we don't have a stream of funds. And because we don't have the stream of funds, then we cannot maintain safety, maybe a safety team. We can't maintain or be able to support people for their own housing. So the city shelters provide 6 months of rental assistance. We have a welcoming center, well, 2 of them, that are helping us, and that's maybe $800 one-time emergency funding.
That's interesting, Lindsay, because one thinks of a volunteer effort as having one would assume comparable resources to city-affiliated centers, but that's not the case because you are dealing with volunteers and it's community input, community help, and so forth. Give me an idea of what a typical day was like at what was a warehouse, but then became a home to these hundreds of people.
Sure. Over the summer, I would go in multiple times a week, actually with my 2 grade school children, and we enjoyed sharing time with them. We would make sure that people were fed. We had 3 meals a day. I usually did the lunch shift. We made sure everyone had a functioning air mattress that wasn't punctured or leaking, especially for pregnant women, so to make sure that they weren't sleeping on the floor. And we helped with everyday needs, making sure people had hygiene products. I would stock the bathrooms with toilet paper and soap, and then also help with translation service for the Spanish-speaking volunteers who were on site that might be accessing jobs that were available in the neighborhood, looking at apartment postings, so anything that the residents needed assistance with, we would help out.
Cynthia, we just heard that one of the priorities was keeping people safe, and I understand that your biggest expense was security. Why was that your biggest expense?
Well, one, because most people were all volunteers. And at first, we actually had Victory Outreach volunteering. However, I felt because we had scarcity of funds, we had to prioritize the night shift. And to do the night shift, that is, there's a strain on your body, on your emotions. And so we felt like, okay, you take some of the donations and give some incentive for people to be able to be all night and keeping people safe. And that's the only shift we were able to really fund until the end.
Again, that was Phil Ponce speaking with 2 former volunteers with the Todo para Todos migrant shelter, which closed last weekend. You can catch the full conversation on Chicago Tonight Latino Voices tomorrow night at 5:30 and Saturday at 6. And we're back with more in just a moment, but first, a look at the weather. Oftentimes, it can be assumed that art is found in more traditional spaces like museums. But what about art at public entities that attract tourists and local field trips alike? A new exhibit at Navy Pier aims to showcase local artists and their artwork in a non-traditional fashion. Arts correspondent Angel Ito joins us now from Navy Pier for a look. Angel.
That's right, Brandis. Now, there is a new gallery that just opened up at Navy Pier earlier this year. It's called the Women's Live Artist Studio. Now, it consists of artwork from primarily Black and brown female artists that are from Chicago, and I was able to sit down with one of those featured artists. Take a look. For Candace Hunter, the idea of art being more accessible in non-traditional spaces not only opens a lot of doors, but fosters necessary conversations.
I think that often people, they see something in a gallery or a magazine, or they come to the Hyde Park Art Center or someplace. They don't know how the work is actually created. I think more honor comes to the work when people see the execution of it.
That's why when she was approached by co-founders of the Women's Live Artist Studio, Martha Wade and Dana Todd Pope, she couldn't say no.
I was thrilled that she says, Candace, you want to come on board? And I'm just like, yeah, what do you need me to do? The place where we are is right outside of the Children's Museum, and to be able to see art, working artists, art at work, I think is invaluable. Because even to this day, there's still a stigma about going into a museum for a lot of communities. And so you have those communities walking through Navy Pier who maybe their mothers or grandmothers never went into a museum, never went into a gallery, and yet here they are. And not only are they there now, but now they can talk to artists. This gives them access, and access is extremely important. If you don't have access, you're locked away. And so it opens up doors.
Now, Hunter's work in the permanent exhibition features a series she started during the pandemic, Brown Limb Girls.
I wanted to do work at that moment that was joyful and playful, because we were all going through something that we didn't know what it was, and it was highly stressful. My work always talks about some kind of injustice. The work is activist. The work asks questions. It asks you to think. It asks you to act. And so I feel like if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my full job.
Hunter says she appreciates having her work displayed among other featured artists.
I love going there and going, oh, oh. We've never all been together at the same time, and I think that they honor me like I honor them. I offer something in conversation to Dana, in conversation with Martha, and then what they give me is equally as valid, if not more important.
Now, the artwork that you see here in this new permanent gallery isn't limited to just what you see on the walls behind me. Every day, they have a different live artist like Tyler here, who is either painting or creating in some form or fashion as a way to better engage with the public. Now, today here at Navy Pier, I am actually joined by the two co-founders of the Women's Live Art Studio, Dana Todd Pope and Martha A. Wade. Ladies, thank you both so much for joining us. Dana, I want to start with you. Of all of the public entities in Chicago, why Navy Pier?
Well, actually, I was a graduate of the community business program at Sunshine Enterprises, and as a part of that, I got the opportunity to vend at the Navy Pier Artisan Market. And through that relationship with the pier, I met Marissa Diaz. So when a kiosk opportunity opened up, she presented it to us, and she asked us to actually do an exhibition as a residency. And we did so well with the audience here at the pier that they offered us the space permanently.
That is so fantastic. Now, I know that you all work to focus on female artists, right? Martha, can you tell us a little bit about some of those disparities that female artists face in comparison to their male counterparts?
Yeah, of course. So over the years, as we've done exhibitions, I noticed that most of them are male dominated. And Dana and I talk about this. Women often bear the brunt of the home responsibilities as well as trying to work. We're both artists, entrepreneurs ourselves. So we wanted to create more opportunities for women to have more time so that we can uplift them in the art world.
That is fantastic. Now, wrapping up with my last question here, Dana, tell me, what has it been like to have the public engage with different artists? What do you think it's taught them?
I think that it's really a good opportunity for them to see how much work actually goes into creating a painting. I have a lot of guests come up and think that I can do a portrait in 15 minutes, and then I have to break their hearts to tell them no.
You said a masterpiece, I think, you can make in 15 minutes, Martha, huh?
Yeah, but eventually, well, they then understand that it's a process. And so oftentimes they'll come back several times during their visit here at the pier to see our progress as the day goes on.
Well, thank you ladies both so much for joining us. Again, we are live here at Navy Pier, and we are right in front of the Children's Museum. So if you ever want to come down to Navy Pier, this is the spot for you. I'm Angel Ito reporting live here again at Navy Pier. Brandis, we go back to you.
Nothing like a 15-minute masterpiece, Angel. Thanks so much. And if you're interested in seeing some live artwork, the Women's Live Artist Studio is located in the Fifth Third Bank Family Pavilion at Navy Pier, right next to the Children's Museum. It's open 11 to 9 during the week and open until 10 on the weekends. And that's our show for this Thursday night. Don't forget to stay connected with us by signing up for our daily briefing. And you can get Chicago Tonight streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, WTTW.com/news. You can also get the show via podcast and the PBS video app. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.